Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Ball is Round. I'm Hadi Raphael, and tonight on the show, another favorite bites the dust in MLS Cup playoffs. For the second part of our post-mortem, we'll rate midfielders and attackers of CF Montreal and Jesse Marsh and his Canadian men's national team squad for the Nations League quarterfinals. That and a lot more on episode 203 of The Ball is Round. Hello, everyone. We're back on The Ball is Round. Once again, another week, another Ball is Round episode. I'm joined by my good friends, Elias Grigoriadis and Andy Coronado. Andy, how are you today?
Doing good, man. Long weekend. Excited to get some rest.
Yeah,
Weather's
for
not getting
you,
any
long
better.
weekend.
Yeah, man.
Not for me. Not for
Sorry.
me.
Must be
Sorry. Some of us actually get to rest. But
Elias is happy. What about I'm pretty
I'm
sure he's not
miserable,
happy.
man.
Yeah.
Miserable.
What about that? From what I heard, that was a disallowed goal
Robbery.
What happened? For once, it's against Barcelona.
For what? Okay, buddy.
dirty.
But yeah, it's welcome to La Liga. You know what happens. They weren't going to win every game. They had to draw points eventually, right? It's just a fact. It's soccer. But yeah, c'est la vie. I'm definitely not going to cry myself to sleep or whatever. But it's okay.
C'est la vie. And you, Andy, Bayern Munich.
Yeah, their
What's going
first
on?
place. They won 1-0.
Ah,
Yeah. Like I told you guys, they're expected to literally win every game. And if they lose one, then what
Yeah,
the
they
heck
will.
are we doing, right?
it's the end of the
Yeah.
world. But
Yeah.
but you know what? I heard that Alfonso Davies seems to be on the way to extending his contract.
I hope
That's the
so.
last news that I heard. So let's wait and see. Unless Kylian Mbappe calls him and tells him, "Listen, Real wants you." Let's wait and see.
Oh,
Let's wait and see.
That means he doesn't go to Real, so I'm happy. Let's go.
Yeah,
Guys,
ever since
sorry.
ever since Alfonso Davies has been in that squad, he's been a difference maker as a left back. So hope he stays for a very long time.
We'll see. We'll say hi to, of course, all the listeners that are here. Michael saying Ali Atlanta, so we'll talk about that a bit later. Robbie being here like every week. Hello, gents. And Patrick White, what him at United? So I think he wants Alfonso Davies at United. But you know what? United, it's still a club, from what I heard.
They're still technically a club. Yeah.
They're extinct. No, I'm
What
joking.
did they ever do to you? Jeez.
They're just, I remember in the Alex Ferguson days, the United fans, they were all proud and like, yeah, I'm a United fan, And
Yeah.
now, since then, they didn't do shit for like 10 years. But they won today. Yes, Patrick, they won 3-0 today. So good job for
Just
that.
a little reminder.
And you know what I love about that show? Is that nobody watches my team. So I'm great that nobody's asking me a question. Good. Moving on. Let's talk about the MLS
Let's
Cup.
go. Let's go, Harry.
no.
Let's go, Harry. What's
Not
going
getting
on with
out of this
Marseille,
that
man?
You're not getting out of this that easily. Come on now.
You didn't say anything, so I'm good.
Well, we were waiting. We're waiting.
Harry, please tell us about Marseille. What happened?
You should know if you're interested in my club. But since you don't know, I'm happy. So moving on, MLS Cup playoffs.
I'm looking at this so quickly right now.
MLS Cup
Hey, they're
playoffs,
still
guys.
in a Champions League spot. It's okay.
Yeah. They just lost against
Sad.
newly promoted.
Are we
team
running
at
out of
home.
time? Why is Harry so anxious to move on to MLS playoffs? What's going on right now?
Yeah, Oksana they're mid-table this year, so it's not like you lost the last place or whatever.
Yeah, but they're newly promoted, man. Like
So was Leicester, and they won
at
the
home.
league.
Yeah, no,
Oh, okay, I see it now.
that's not good. That's not good. Really bad game. Really bad game. Okay,
Let's move on.
let's talk about the MLS Cup playoffs. Guys, what a year. What an amazing playoffs we're having in MLS. For all the neutrals like me, it's been really amazing to watch. The whole drama unfold. It's been, I think, one of the best playoffs I've seen in a long, long time. It started with the play-ins that were very, very good, and the first rounds are now sorry, done and dusted, and it's been a hell of a roller coaster. Um, let's talk about them first. First subject for you guys. We have Atlanta that won and beat Inter Miami. Of course, we'll dive into it as soon as possible. But at the same time, we had Orlando win in penalty against Charlotte. In both of these games, we had very experienced goalkeepers
Oh yeah.
for the two teams. Brad Guzan, 40 years old, being a difference maker in that game, and Pedro Gallese, which I'm pretty sure Andy loves,
Oh
was
baby.
great in the penalty shots. Uh, Guys, and I'll start with you, Andy. Do you feel that in order to have a success, an experienced and very trustworthy goalkeeper is a must?
I think I would go with the second word you said, Hattie. Trustworthy. Experience. Experience is relative. I mean, some can say 8 years is experience, while others can say 2 years, 1 year. It really depends on how much you can trust your goalie. Again, when we talked about it a week ago or two, when CF Montreal were eliminated because of the penalty against Atlanta, we said, do we trust Jonathan Sirois to be our goalie for penalty kicks? Should we have chosen Sebastian Breza for the penalties? And that's something to me that's very, very important, because it's about being trustworthy and being able to know, that's my guy, that I ride or die with for penalties and all that. And I think it's when your season is on the line, all of a sudden the spotlight of your goalie becomes so much bigger.
No,
So
for sure.
absolutely, it's more trustworthy than experience to me. Would because you can sign a experienced keeper, nothing guarantees that they're going to perform any better. So yeah, I think it's more about how trustworthy your goalie is.
No, I agree. I agree with you that it seems like it. It seems that your goalie is very, very important in order to go ahead. Um, Elias, we talked a lot about at Messi, about Barcelona, ex Barcelona players, how good they are, how amazing it is to see them, and of course their record season. But you know what? They just are gone now. What do you
Yeah.
feel about them losing, and what do you feel about the performance of Atlanta?
First off, Atlanta's defense as a whole, and obviously Guzan, in nets was phenomenal. Right, you have to give credit where credit is due, but you have to also remember the fact that they didn't really bring much help in the defense. Right? Yeah, you bring in Sergio Busquets, you bring in Jordi Alba, who are very forward thinking in terms of what is asked of them. You can't ask Sergio Busquets to play the role of Samuel Piet or whatever, and you can't ask Jordi Alba to be gunning up and down the flank, because at the end of the day he is not a spring chicken anymore. So defense was always going to be their issue, and you simply absorb pressure. You hit back on the counter, kind of like what Montreal did when they came to Stade Saputo. Right, that first half that was so great. It wasn't because Montreal played them off the field; it's because Montreal was very organized and they hit back on the counter super efficiently. Right, Andy, and I for one think that they almost asked for it with the way that they were attacking, because again, besides those goals were particularly incisive, they didn't really create all that much danger. Yeah, Guzan had a lot of saves, but it all seemed to be just like, I'm gonna give it to these guys and pray for the best, which may work against some teams that are outside playoff contention, or teams that are maybe still not used to the Messi effect or what have you. But when you get down to it and you get into the MLS playoffs, you can't just kind of go on
Wing
a
it.
wing and a prayer.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's something that I felt like yesterday stood out more than anything. It's just like the things that have been kind of ignored during the regular season for Miami. Some of the weaknesses that stood out, such as their defense or transition defense. Yes, they had wonderful goals and they scored a lot of goals and they were the top of the table, but they still had weaknesses, and those weaknesses,
Yeah.
not a lot of people were exploring it because you have Lionel Messi on the field. I mean, it's so
People
hard to
don't think
explore.
about,
Oh,
yeah.
so now I feel like it was the playoffs. Atlanta was just hungry. They were hungry to like, hey, if we have a chance to be that team, then we're going to be that team, right? So that's exactly what it felt like. Like yesterday when I saw them play, they felt like they were just a hungry team ready to attack, and Brad Guzan absolutely 1,000% had a fantastic game, had a great game. I mean, he was all over the place, and I don't know, Elias. To you, does it feel a little bit better knowing that the team that beat us also beat Inter Miami, the first place
No, it
team?
feels worse.
It
It
feels
feels
worse to you.
worse.
Okay,
Absolutely, because that should have been Montreal,
yeah,
right? That not should have. That very well could have been Montreal,
but now that
right?
it's not,
Knowing,
now that it's not
no,
my
no,
no,
no.
okay,
It makes me happy because when you look at it as a whole, these playoffs are wide open. 3 of the 8 teams that had home field advantage lost this series, including both first seeds, both second seeds. So I'm looking at this playoff picture right now. I'm like, this is awesome because it really is. It's impossible to kind of tell. And it leads us to a question from Dr. Foot. Atlanta, the next destination for Joseph Martinez. Don't worry, we'll get into that
yeah.
um, later in the post-mortem. But which team now is your favorite?
Man, I gotta go for
And it
Atlanta.
leaves open. It leaves a lot of questions open because
Yeah,
what team are you looking at now? Going, oh shit, they could really do something now. Who's your
yeah.
dark horse?
That's where I'm with Atlanta, and not because it was that they beat Miami. It's just the way they played. They just seemed
Mhm.
yesterday to play to. They showed up being a team that was disciplined, that was more concerned of playing well, and not worried about having playing against the best player in the world. They really seemed to
Yeah.
be focused on themselves and making sure that they weren't making any mistakes. Honestly, Elias, I haven't, besides the CF Montreal Atlanta games. I haven't seen that many Atlanta games, but the game that I saw yesterday of them, they were very very good, but not again, not star good, like they're gonna be first place, but they definitely look like they understood what they were there for and what the purpose, the mission was yesterday, and it just that's something that Miami. To the complete contrary, I don't know what you think in that sense, Eliza. When every no, like if you look at all the headlines today, nobody is saying
Mm.
how awesome Atlanta played. They're all saying
No,
like,
it's the shock, right? How could they have
how did
possibly done
Miami
it?
lose? How bad was Miami?
And
Miami was
again,
not. Mhm.
I don't think this season was a failure. Everyone's calling the season a
Yeah, they're
failure.
calling it a failure. Yeah,
No, it wasn't a
It's a very
failure.
it's a very
It
North
wasn't a
American way to
failure.
look at it, right? It's definitely it did not live up to expectations, obviously, but calling it a failure, you are still MLS Cup or not, you're still one of the greatest MLS sides of all time this year. You can't go. There's no two ways about it. Michael with a very good point, and these are my dark horses. Red Bull, Forsberg is
Yeah,
on fire. They did not just beat Columbus; they handled Columbus very competently, and
yeah, but
more than just
don't.
squeaking through. It's the way that they actually operated, not at home, not in that home game, but on the road that I really like.
The thing is, they've been out, like they've been without a game for now. They're gonna have their next game on the 22nd of November. So that would be about 2 weeks without any games. Don't you feel that there's some sort of a break in their momentum, or like cuts their momentum in half? Like
Yeah,
that's that's
but
that's really bad.
first of all, it's going to be a derby against NYCFC, which
Yeah,
rocks. I can't wait for playoff derbies are the best derbies, always. But look, NYCFC also hit the form at the right time to take out a team like Cincinnati. That's not easy either.
yeah,
But they also have to wait. They maybe have to wait a little bit less because they just played um and Red Bulls swept. But at the end of the day, both teams get 2 weeks off now, which I find again completely ridiculous. But that's still more than enough time for either team to lose any kind of momentum.
Yeah.
I still think, but Red Bulls, you remember how good they were at the beginning of the season? Once the injuries sorted out and they're kind of everyone's on the same page, I think it's going to be them. I think it's going to be the Galaxy in the final. I think the West is completely open for the Galaxy to take now, and it's all
Yeah,
there. I
but
can't wait.
guys, I mean, Atlanta, like 3-4 months ago, when they lost their best players, they lost their coach, they lost. I think they even lost their sporting director, right?
Yeah, yeah, they
Mhm.
did.
And they were
Yeah.
like, guys, who the heck is the Atlanta United? And they beat the number one team in the East yesterday,
Yep.
Yeah,
away
and
from home.
with only one DP, they only have one DP in
They were in a
Miranchuk.
rebuild, right? Right, Hadi?
They're in
So,
a rebuild phase. They're having. I think the whole thing is caused by the coach that really was able to bring everybody together and make them believe in themselves,
Mhm.
and this is what happened. And again, putting the right players at the right time on the pitch. Jamal Cherry yesterday scoring 2 goals, 2 amazing goals, by the way.
yeah.
So he's not a powerhouse. Like Jamal Cherry is not a DP, and he's far from being a DP. He's not that extraordinary player. It's just that against a team like Inter Miami, he's the perfect kind of player because he's very physical. He runs like crazy, and also he's very good technically. And when we're doing a very high press, so you know, putting the right players at the right time. This is what this coach has been able to do. Being able to qualify to the playoffs at on the last day, beating Montreal in Montreal, and now beating Miami in Miami. Like, this is what a good team does. What a good and we've been talking a lot about spending money in DPs and stuff like that. But you know what? Sometimes, yes, of course, you need to spend money. Marinchuk is a player that they had to spend money for, but at the end of the day, money is not the only thing that matters. You need a structure. You need belief. You need to be able to go above and beyond what you've been able to do every game. And this is what the Atlanta team is able to do right now, and it's amazing. It's beautiful soccer. That's what we want to see, right? This is what we live for.
Speaking of beautiful soccer, Hadi, Elias, question for you. The third goal of Atlanta, when the
Mm.
Aviles falls on the ground, what is going on your mind right at that point?
I
Right
hope they
before
don't
Honestly,
score. I hope they don't score because there's going to be drum.
because I'm looking at that and
no.
I'm like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. If they score now, it's gonna be bananas. That's what I'm thinking. What is going through your minds when you guys see that?
When I see him after the goal or before the goal,
When he falls on the ground and they're still playing it, and you're like, they might.
when you
What if they score here? What's
when he
going on in
falls
your
on
mind?
the ground, I'm not get the referee is going to stop the play. And you know what? This is not fair play, and this shouldn't happen
Mhm.
because the guy fell on the floor without being touched or anything, and it showed that the guy had maybe cramps and saw that he wasn't able to do the effort anymore. He just fell on the ground just because the other team was attacking. But at the end of the day, I'm happy that the referee didn't go that way and let the play go, because at the end of the day, I've seen so many things down the years, injured players, pushing themselves very, very hard in those
Mhm.
final games. And when I see this sort of attitude from the Inter Miami player, I'm I'm disgusted, right?
Yeah.
So I was happy to see that the referee said, you know what? No, you fell down. I'll get back to you when I am able to. But right now we're in the middle of an action. I cannot stop the play. We're in the middle of an action.
Yeah. 'Cause,
So
I mean, like two of the main things that refs immediately stop play for is if the
yeah,
player's in like the path of the ball, which you could argue he was because he was in the box, or if it's a head injury, then they stop it automatically.
yeah, yeah, that's
But
normal.
at the same time, I don't think Miami is the best placed team to complain about officiating decisions. If you're grosso modo, I don't think they are the best placed team to go. We were screwed over. No, honey. But anyway,
No, I agree. Moving on.
Yes.
Next team, LAFC barely goes through eliminating the last Canadian team in the MLS playoffs in Vancouver Whitecaps. That was a close call. Guys, is it fair to say that Vancouver has been the best Canadian MLS team in the last 3-4 years now?
Oh, it's not even a debate, right?
Sustainable
Consistent,
model. Yeah.
consistent playoffs, great coaching, recognizable brand of football, trophies to go with it, right? It's not just like, saying, oh, they're unlucky in Canadian Championship, but they're the best team. No, they also won the Canadian Championship back to back. There's no discussion to be had here. They are hands down the best team in Canada. And they've thrown down the gauntlet because they've done it in a very sustainable and not a very expensive way. Their scouting is excellent. Their youth is like across the board, right? Maybe on the MLS scale they have work to do, but on the Canadian scale they are the standard.
Yeah, and Patrick says the last 2 years, I would say we were the best in 2022. You know what? Yeah, but we're talking about the best team in the last 5 years. So if
overall,
3-4 years overall for us, and I agree with both of you. I think Vancouver is hands on the best. And you know what? I love Vanni Sartini. I'm a big fan of Vanni Sartini.
How could you not?
I love his press conferences. I feel he has the persona that's needed to grow a club, to make them known, to give them personality. And you know what? At first, he had very defensive tactics, and then he changed. And right now, it's more a possession game kind of play. So it's interesting because he's able to play with the squad that he has, which I really love too. And honestly, they deserve to go through. They really deserve to go through against LAFC. And
that goal by Vancouver, by LA, was just a simple mistake by the midfielder of Vancouver. That obviously in the playoffs, like, you just can't make any mistakes. But honestly, they were high pressing on Hugo Lloris over there in LA. And he was struggling. He was actually struggling against their press, and they were just they played a very stout, scheme and tactic that made LA struggle a lot. They really played a good game, and like you said, Hadi, I truly do believe they deserve to go further. But
Michael asking, where's Giroud?
Where's Camara?
You're not answering the question, Ed.
The same sentence is kind of crazy, those two players.
Yeah. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's tough to come and yes, a lot of good players come and really score great goals against in MLS, but a lot of very good players find it really tough to acclimate to the MLS. And maybe that's what we're seeing from Olivier Giroud. At the same time, guys, it's funny because the first question that I ask you, do we need an experienced or a trustworthy goalkeeper? Just to let you know, Hugo Lloris has been known throughout the years to be one of the worst goalkeepers in penalties. One of the worst. So, one of the worst. And you know what? He's world champion. Yeah. He has won so many things in his career, and
could
just saying. Moving on. Next question. That's for you, of course, Elias. Predictions. MLS Cup playoffs predictions. So we look at the brackets right now. We have LAFC against Seattle, LA Galaxy against Minnesota, and in the East, Orlando, Atlanta, and New York City FC against our good friends of Red Bulls.
I still think it's Red Bulls. I still think
Red
it's
Bulls?
Red Bulls' conference to lose at this point. It's right there. The stars have aligned, and I think that they have a favorable path through to the final.
And you say that the Red Bulls will win it all?
No, I think the Galaxy are going to win it all.
Okay. So
I was talking about the East, but I think the Galaxy are
okay.
winning it all.
Let's go head to head. Okay, the first head to head. You know what? I'm just gonna get the visual so that we can take a look at that. 1 second. I just downloaded it, and I'm just putting it as we speak here. Won't be too long, my friends. Sorry about that. So, LAFC Seattle. Who goes through?
LAFC.
LA Galaxy Minnesota. Elias.
Galaxy. Yeah. I don't even know what I was thinking about that.
Orlando
Yeah,
Atlanta.
I think I'm gonna win it all. So, Orlando. Atlanta.
What? Okay.
Atlanta.
New York City FC Red Bulls.
Red Bulls.
So Red Bulls Atlanta against LAFC LA Galaxy.
Absolutely.
Then you say LA Galaxy Red Bulls, and
Yes.
then LA Galaxy, right?
LA
Andy.
Galaxy.
I think Seattle's gonna go through. I haven't seen Minnesota play, so I'm just gonna go for LA just based on what the talent they have. With Rui Puig playing like crazy. Puig, sorry. Atlanta gonna beat Orlando, even though Orlando has to prove in, so I kind of rooting for them. But Atlanta is playing their heads off right now. And for the derby, I think it's gonna be New York NYCFC.
Okay, and then in the final.
And the final, it's gonna be the final. I'm gonna go with LA Galaxy Atlanta, and Atlanta's gonna win it.
Atlanta is gonna win the MLS Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
You heard it here.
You heard it here. Yeah, you heard it here. You know what? I'm going for LAFC Galaxy. I think LAFC will go through. I think Orlando Red Bulls will go through in the East, LAFC in the West, and I think it's going to be LAFC winner. This is my take. So LAFC winner, Elias LA Galaxy winner, and Andy Atlanta United winner. Yeah. What do you guys think? So Robbie says Red Bull and Atlanta in East, Galaxy and Seattle in West. Red Bulls Galaxy final, Galaxy winner. Approximately the same as you, Elias, if I'm not mistaken, right? Is it the same? Yeah, it's completely. It's exactly the same. All right. Oh no, you said LAFC will go through and not Seattle. So that's the only difference between you and
me.
Okay. Good to know. And you know, if anybody else wants to jump in and talk about the
Elias, just a yes/no question. No need to explain. Do you guys think CF Montreal would have beat Miami? Just yes or no?
Yes,
I think.
And I said it.
After what you've seen, how they played.
I think they had a chance, and that's what I said last time. And Robbie made fun of me. I think they had a chance, and Robbie's saying no. I think they had a chance.
If I'm not allowed to give context, the answer is no.
No, CF Montreal wouldn't have. After what the way you saw Miami play against Atlanta?
Well, no, because it's two different teams. Atlanta and Montreal are not the same team, right? If you copy-coller Montreal into Miami in Game 3, I don't think they win. But if you take the whole series into account, it's not outside the realm of possibility. But no.
He's not answering the question.
I said no.
Why does Elias never answer the question, man?
I answered straight up.
Elias, do you think Atlanta is better than Montreal?
No.
Of course not.
I'm not Elias, but I'll answer. I say no.
So okay. All right, sorry, moving.
Okay. We're stopping those games.
Sorry.
Because we have CF Montreal.
Sorry.
Right away. No, it's good. It's good. I like this. So yeah, that was a quick look at the MLS Cup playoffs. Very interesting this year. As we said, let's go to our part 2 of our post-mortem. We're going to rate midfielders and attackers. I'm going to repeat for the people that weren't here last week and didn't hear our part 1. So we're going to rate the season of each individual. So all the players, we already did the front office. We already did the defenders last week. So we're going to do midfielders and strikers. We're going to give them a grade between A and E, exactly like you do in university and in school. we can use the plus and minuses, so a plus, a minus, C plus, C minus, not a problem at all. The goal would be for each one of us to give his own grade and also to say if, in his own opinion, so not what we're not trying to guess what the CF Montreal front office is going to do, but in his own opinion, the individual should leave or stay with the club. Then, of course, I will direct a question to one of you. And of course, you can jump in whenever you want, even if the question is not directed to you. Feel free to jump in. It's a discussion, and it is the ball is round. So, very important to have opinions. So, let's start first with the first player, Elias. I think we're starting with Alessandro Biello. So, it's tough to rate him. So, I don't think any one of us has a grade. So, because he hasn't played enough. I'll ask the question to you, Andy. Should we go for a loan for Alessandro Biello, or should he stay with the team in 2025?
Seeing as we don't have an MLS Next Pro team, I think he should stay with the squad and have regular minutes. Not a starter, because right now, as it stands today, we still have Nathan Saliba in the roster. So I think he should stay and earn minutes. That's what I think.
Elias?
He's right. Wanyama's leaving, and even if they do bring someone in, the competition is good. I think he's going to get more minutes than he did last year. Well, it's tough to get fewer minutes than he did last year, but I think he should stay. If they don't see him in the plans right now, they have to loan him out at the beginning of the season, though. I don't want to see him loaned out 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, etc. stuff.
So you think he's good enough to get regular minutes with the first team? That's what you guys are saying. Like from the small cameo that we've seen from him, he's already at 17, 18, good enough to go ahead and get more minutes. When we say regular, if he's 18 and he's going to play 3 games in a season, it's not really worth it to keep him, right? I think, in my opinion, it all depends on what we're doing with in the transfer market. If we're bringing 2 midfielders, I would go for a loan because he's not going to have regular minutes. If you're only bringing 1, that means that you have 2 spots. You have in the 2 spots in the starting 11, you only have 3 players. Then yes, I would keep him. He will be my 4th choice. In 4th choice in an MLS season, he's going to have 10 to 15 games under his belt, which is more than enough. So if you can guarantee him between 10 and 15 games, I would keep him. If not, I would loan him because I feel that he needs, in order to progress and to develop, he needs to have minutes on the pitch. If he's here to just do the numbers, to be on the bench, to warm the bench, to be here just in case, it's not good for his development. So I think, because it's my decision, I think that I would loan him because for me it's important to have 2 new midfielders in the squad.
2?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
But I mean,
because you only have Pieta and Saliba. You don't have anybody.
Zwiz coming back from loan too.
Who? No. Antonio Marinaro said he's never going to be coming back. Right?
But you guys are forgetting the guy from CPL, the guy in Forge, Matteo Schiavone.
Yeah, but he's an attacking midfielder. He'd be more in the attackers.
Yeah,
and he didn't get minutes in CPL. So that's why even a loan doesn't guarantee any minutes for him unless you're sending him to a crappy team that really, really needs a midfielder.
I think it's a bit different, Andy. Don't forget that Alessandro Biello was called up in a training camp for Jesse March, and Schiavone wasn't, right? So, you have a gem of a player in Alessandro Biello, and everybody knew. He's been the captain of the Canadian U17 team. Mm-hmm. So, he's been so important, and he looks like a very promising player. So, we don't have the same type of players in Schiavone and Biello. So, I wouldn't really compare both of them. So, if he's going on loan, we need to make sure that he gets minutes. And I'm pretty sure that CF Montreal will make sure that he gets minutes. So
the way I see it is that this league is getting, if we look at it like a team like Philadelphia Union, that they're playing like super young kids at like 16, 18 years old. CF Montreal needs to do the same and give regular minutes. You're absolutely right, Hadi, in saying like if we're talking about 3 games, we can't make a good assessment in that. Even today, I think we've seen him play 2 games and even 1 game in MLS. And I can't really give him a grade nor say he's going to be amazing or bad. Like, he looks like a big kid. He looks like he carries himself well in the field. That's as much as I can see. But that doesn't mean anything as far as talent or what his ceiling is for that. So, yeah, it's too soon. But I do think CF Montreal should have a solid plan for him to have regular minutes in the regular season with MLS.
Let's wait and see. I think we're all in agreement. It's just that maybe I just went a bit further in the explanation, but I think we're all in agreement on what should happen with Alessandro Biello. So let's move on with the second player, the second midfielder that we're gonna rate. It's Lassi Lappalainen. Yes, we forgot to put him in the wing backs last week, and you know what? We never really know if it's back or fullback or midfielder or striker, or because he's been tossed around everywhere by his last 2 managers. So the question was, I don't remember what the question. Do we need to say more? Elias.
No.
What's his grade?
D minus.
D minus. Okay, good.
And purely on the fact that I'll get my context after.
F for fragile, said Robbie. Andy.
Look, I'll give him a D just because he did give us 1 assist this season. So just based on the season, but no, should he be back or no? No, I mean, unless I've always said it, people give me crap for it, but I do still believe that Lassi Lappalainen is very talented in the wingback position, and he can provide a lot. But 1,000%, he is very fragile, and he's not reliable. So if you can bring him back with a 1-year contract with a bunch of incentives if he plays, and then hopefully that motivates him to stay healthy, then I'm willing to take him back. But beyond that, not at the contract he has now.
Is he going to take a 90% pay cut also because he makes more than $500,000?
No, he won't. But that's the only contract that was subbed him in.
He makes
more availability is
he's a TAM player that he makes more than $750,000.
Yeah,
he's approximately at $1 million a year.
For 1 assist.
Lassi. Like, it's not 500,000
for the same amount of minutes as Alessandro Biello. Yes.
Yeah. Like, no. Honestly, Project Lassi is done for me. It's an E.
It was a fun week 3 years ago. That was a fun week 3 years ago.
When he scored 2 goals?
Yeah.
No, but like honestly, what I don't like about Lassi is not only the fact that he was injured, because that's something, but I didn't see him improve at all. Like, he was good under Wilfried Nancy. He was good as of left wing back, and he played a lot of minutes. But again, like, he was better with his left foot, which is already something else. That's the only improvement that he did. He was a bit better with his left foot. But even then, for me, a player that has been here for 4 years, I would have expected a lot more. And especially a player that has played so many minutes. Because, yeah, he's been injured this year a lot than last year. But before then, he played a lot. And I didn't see a lot of improvement. So for me, that's what's really worrisome, and that's what's really disappointing. So no, even for 100,000, I wouldn't sign him, because at the end of the day, we saw what we needed to see from Lassi Lappalainen, and you know what? I think it's good for him also to go and get a new start somewhere else, not only for us but for him too, because here it's going to be so tough to really get the public opinion again with him. He's going to have to be stellar in order to be just appreciated by fans and by people and by the club. Because unfortunately, it wasn't a good project. But I agree with you, Andy. He has some very good traits. He has some very good skills, but his weaknesses are a bit too low, in my opinion. So yeah, for me, done with Lassie Lapolainen. On va au prochain appel, like we say.
Yeah.
Moving on. Next player,
One of the big names.
Victor Wanyama. Unceremonious goodbye. Elias, Victor Wanyama has given us a lot, right? But before I ask you a question, I'm going to go with your grade first. Go ahead with the grade. Wanyama, grade. Wanyama, grade.
C minus.
C minus. Andy.
D.
I'm D plus, just to be different. D plus. Elias, unceremonious goodbye, as you said. It's been tough for Victor Wanyama. I think also it's been, let's say it, has it been, in your opinion, unfair for Victor Wanyama too? Like his treatment, has it been unfair?
Yes and no. Right? I think his usage.
Still not answering the question.
I can't.
Now. Go ahead, man. I'm joking.
No, his usage, his treatment hasn't been unfair.
Okay, good.
Could he have been treated with a little bit more respect? Maybe, because he is a club legend. He is a footballing legend. He's played Champions League finals. He's done all this stuff. So could it have been handled a bit more tactfully, a little bit more diplomatically? Yes. But ultimately, his treatment this season, unfair? I wouldn't say so. Because, look, it's not like he didn't get any chances at the beginning of the season. He was told straight up, and he talked about this, right? He was told straight up at the beginning of the season, look, the way we want to play and the way that we're set up, it's not looking like you're going to get a lot of minutes. You'll get some, but not a lot. He was given some, and he not only did he underperform, but he was subbed out by Alessandro Biello, right? You can't do that if you're a captain and a club legend and the designated player and making literally like 15 times more than him. It doesn't work. So, yes, could it have been a bit more diplomatic? Maybe, but as we've seen this year, Laurent Courtois is not one to mince words. So, it happens. Again, I still think that he should have had the chance to say goodbye on the field in some capacity because he deserves it. The fans deserve it. And I think that would be at least one last way to shake his hand and say, thank you for everything you've done to Montreal, because at the end of the day, he is absolutely up there in my eyes with Drogba in terms of impact at the club, even more so if you think about the amount of time he spent here. So, yeah, I think it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Andy, we have, first of all, our friend Wellington saying Wanyama a B, and Robbie saying club legend is a bit of a stretch. Michael's saying that for Wanyama, he didn't really want to be there, and Courtois did well to not use him. At the same time, Losada wasn't using him either. Andy, do you feel that Victor Wanyama really lost a lot more than just a season going public against Hernan Losada last year? He lost something else. Do you feel that the treatment of Hernan Losada carried over to Laurent Courtois' era?
No. That's why if you're to get the grade I give him is not his overall career with CF Montreal, but the grade I give him is this
Talking
season.
about this year, yeah.
Yeah. And I think we heard him talk at the beginning of the season. He sounded so happy and so excited. Like, I like this coach. He communicates so well as opposed to, in the past, blah, 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 blah. And then as there was another interview he did in the middle of the season that with Footy Prime where he mentioned that he already started saying the same messages, like, I'm confused, I don't understand, like, what's going on. And it was just like, okay, but Victor, you do understand that this happened last season as well, right? Like, are things changing? He's like, yeah, they're different, but not really. It's like, okay. So, and then he goes at the end, and I think everybody heard that interview that he did with Tony Marinaro, where he pretty much burned that bridge with CF Montreal. I think a relationship goes both ways, right? It's not just everything is on him. The club could have absolutely maybe handled the situation internally a little bit better and not let it spill out as it did publicly. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Roberto. I think club legend is a little bit of a stretch for Victor Wanyama. I think he did good things. His best season was 2022, but the past 2 seasons, he's been that player that we've seen happen in other teams and other sports, that they're just, they carry more weight than give any kind of positive contribution to the team. So
I think we're forgetting. We're talking about 2022. We're talking about 2023. We're talking about 2024. But I think we're forgetting 2021. Victor Wanyama was great in 2021. 2020 for me, it's a bit hard because it's like the bubble and stuff. So like, is it 2020 or 2021 the bubble? No, 2020 was the bubble, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
like for me, it's not even a season in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a weird setting. So for me, I tend to forget 2020. Like for all, like I forget MLS 2020, not CF Montreal 2020. So like I feel that Victor Wanyama is the kind of player that's underappreciated in a way, and I understand because his last 2 seasons weren't really good, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel that we haven't used him properly in the last couple of years, and I've seen so many people saying, "Yeah, he's on the decline. He's on the decline," but like he was so good in 2022, he was on the decline just a year after. Yeah, he's not the same player as 2022. We all know that. But the decline, I feel it's a bit too strong. I feel that it's the kind of player that needs to be playing to get more. He needs to be wanted and he needs to be appreciated in order to give the best of himself. Like a lot of players, like a lot of humans, not only players. Same thing to you guys at your own work in real life. If you're not appreciated, of course you're not going to give 100%, and you're not going to be as good as when you're appreciated. So it's a bit of the same thing. So yeah, I don't know. I feel that this season hasn't been good because whenever he was given the chance, he wasn't good, and that for me is a problem. That's why I rated him as D+.
Yeah.
So I think that if he was good during those games, maybe he would have gotten a bit more playing time. But at the same time, I wouldn't go as far as club legend, but he has been a very important figure in CF Montreal history. I wouldn't put him at the same level as Di and Piatti and Drogba, but like just underneath them. So not very low either. So I don't know. I feel that we could have utilized him differently. Now at the end, yes, I would have liked to see a farewell to Victor Wanyama. I would have liked to see more, to see him maybe it was hard because in the last game of the season, maybe we could have had, of the regular season, he could have had minutes. I think that's when he should have had minutes. It's hard to give him minutes in the play-in because we were losing. So like that's completely normal.
But I mean, something that stood out to me in his interview in Footy Prime that he did in the middle of the season was, maybe it's a lost in translation. Maybe I'm the only crazy one taking it that way. But something he said, he was like, "Look, man, I've played in the Champions League. I've played here and there. I have nothing to prove to no one anymore." And it was one of those things that I was like, "Oh, okay." So it's almost like he's taking his position for granted. Like he shouldn't have to prove to any coach that he deserves a spot in the starting lineup, which to me was kind of, I think anybody would need to earn that spot and need to earn the trust of their coach to be able to do that, right?
He doesn't look the kind of player that doesn't care and doesn't want to prove himself in training. Maybe he said it, but like I've gone to not a lot of training this year, but like in the previous years, always was in training, and he wasn't the guy that would like not really work hard. He's a pretty hard worker. Like he's not the kind of player to really, be complacent during training sessions. So I don't know. And I don't know. I feel that it could have ended differently, but at the same time, I think it's time for him to go too. Everybody knows he did that interview with Tony Marinaro. He said what he needed to say, and you know what? This is it. Thank you for everything, and good luck in the future. Moving on. Next player, Sam Piet. Oh, captain, my captain. Andy, his grade for the season.
A.
Oh, wow. Elias.
A, absolutely. 100%.
I think we all agree, all three of us, with an A for Sam Piet. Andy, what's the next step for Sam Piet? Because we gave him an A. People are giving them an A. I see Wellington giving him an A in here. I see a lot of people, really love what he brought to the team this year. But also, I still see a lot of people really jabbing at him and saying that he's not good enough and he's not a modern midfielder and he's not complete and he should be better and we don't need him in the starting 11. And I've read people, it's good that he's not with the Canadian men's national team because right now his time is done with the Canadian national team. Like so many passion around this player. When we know what Sam Piet brings to the team, it's clear and obvious. And how is it that people are so far apart from each other in their analysis of Sam Piet's performances?
I mean, I think there are weaknesses to Sam Piet's game. I don't think he's like the reason and I'm sure you guys agree with this, the reason I give him an A is not necessarily because he plays excellent games every game. He does not. He has his faults, and I think people like to pinpoint that whenever we talk about his selection with the national team, like his errors, his weaknesses, if you want. But the truth of the matter is Samuel Piet as a whole player, what he brings to the team as a leader, and what the kind that he keeps showing up on the field, regardless if they're down 5-0 or they're up 3-0. Like he's there. He's playing the same way. He's playing with the same engine, and he keeps going and going and going. So that to me is one of those things that to me is important when I give him that grade. Has he lost a step? Maybe. But I don't think we noticed, especially towards the last few games of the season. I think we saw a better version of Samuel Piet than we had seen in the past since Losada. It was the best version that I had seen of Samuel Piet. So that's how I see Samuel Piet and why I chose to give him an A.
Yeah, I you know what? Before you jump in, Elias, I love the question of Robbie here. I have to ask, what other teams would other teams pay good money for Sam Piet? And I want to hear your answer on this, Elias. I think that's a great question to ask, and I'm curious to know your answer.
I don't think they pay him more than what Montreal pays him now. That's for sure. Yeah. Would some teams pay $400,000? I think he makes for Samuel Piet's services, unquestionably.
Yeah.
Right. You have in Samuel Piet, you do not get someone who is, an expert at breaking down low blocks or this, that, or the other, or you don't get a traditional deep lying playmaking defensive midfielder. What you do get is an unselfish player who, even if, like Wellington says, he can't play a full 90 minutes because at the end of the day, his workload doesn't let him. For 70 minutes, you'd say, at least 70 minutes, you get someone who very rarely loses 50-50 duels, who covers an incredible amount of ground, and who most importantly, and I think this is what people fail to appreciate about him, is his ability to let the people around him do what they do best without worrying about what's behind them. Right? Whether it was Chouanière, whether it was Saliba, hell, whether it was Duke in that midfield with him, they had the security and the knowledge that if I have Piet behind me, I can afford to do what I do best and focus on my game. That will in turn, prove more effective because I don't have to also have, look one eye in the back of my head and look over my shoulder constantly. And that may not be enough to get him in the national team. That may not be enough to get him moved to Europe or a big trade to another MLS team that's maybe more. That may not be. But to say that he doesn't have a place in this team or place in MLS is absurd because, again, I can't think of a single time where for the entire time he was on the field, he was outclassed. Him personally. There were times where Montreal as a group was outclassed, but I can't think of a single time this season where you look and go, Samuel Piet is the problem in that midfield. And you can't, I don't think you could say that about any other player on the team this year. So,
yeah. You know what? I agree with you 100%. I'm going to compare one thing. I have a few things to say. First of all, and I've said it quite a few times here on the Ball is Round, when we had guests come over, every time we would say, choose a player from CF Montreal that you would get to your team. And I think 75% of the time they would choose Samuel Piet because they had the attacking firepower up front. They need that very trustworthy, reliable midfielder that's just going to play, that's just going to win the ball back and give it to that creative threat that we have. But that's
like Inter Miami.
Like Inter Miami, exactly. Now, second thing also, I don't agree. I see Wellington saying that Samuel Piet is on the decline. I'm sorry, man. It's his best season in his career this year. Not at all. He's not on the decline at all. The reason why he's not being selected with the Canadian men's national team is that Jesse Marsh system do not need a pure number 6. It's as simple as that. But in his role, he's still one of the best. And I'm going to give you, and that's my third point here for Samuel Piet, I'm going to give you a name, and it's Dax McCarty. Dax McCarty is 37 years old. This is a player that has been selected by the U.S. national team only 13 times. But this guy has played in Dallas, in D.C., with the Red Bulls for 5 years, the Fire, Nashville, and right now in Atlanta. And he played a hell of a game yesterday at 37 years old. This player is exactly the same type of player as Sam Piet. He's a leader, always been a captain. He's a leader. He's someone that's so reliable on the pitch, wins the ball. He's a bulldog. He's someone that wins the ball and everything. He scored a bit more goals than Samuel Piet, but like 2 a season or something like that. But
that's double Piet gets.
But honestly, he's not that different from Sam Piet. And you know what? No. He's been playing in MLS in 2006, and he's still playing at 37. It's these kinds of players that are not heroes, that are not the players that you always talk about because they're difference makers, but that make your team a team. And that's what Samuel Piet is. And you know what? Of course he has his weaknesses. Of course he's not good everywhere, but he's a good player. He's had the best season of his career in 2024. As simple as that. Moving on. Next player. Dominic Yankov. I'll start with my grade. I would give a D for Dominic Yankov. Andy.
D+.
D+. Elias.
Yeah, I gave Lassie a D or a D-. I'm going to give Dominic Yankov a D+ because that's not fair to compare him to Lassie.
So it's what's your grade? What's your grade?
D.
This guy never answered the question.
I just answered.
He said D.
I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to do that.
Sue me for explaining my decision. Put me in jail.
honestly, I'm gonna say something on Dominic Yankov, and I want to hear you on that. Andy, you'll start first.
Yeah.
I feel underwhelmed by Dominic Yankov, and I think that's the right word. Underwhelmed because this guy has so much talent. Technically, he's very technically gifted, but he's not getting minutes. And I wonder why. I wonder why. I haven't seen a bad game for Dominic Yankov this year, like a very bad game. No, a very bad game.
No, you're right.
Sometimes he hasn't made a bit difference. Sometimes he hasn't made a difference. Sometimes he wasn't really visible, and I agree with that. But most of the time, he made an impact. Most of the time, I remember that 1-2 with Joseph Martinez. I remember, the roulettes that he did a couple of times on the pitch. I remember him very lively coming in. What's missing, Andy, for Dominic Yankov? Is it only that he's injury prone, or there's something else in your opinion?
Oh no, I think he's overthinking. I'm overthinking right now because he just doesn't understand what his role is on the field. And I told you guys that one of the things I used to do was the highlight reels for CF Montreal players, and Dominic Yankov was a player that I would look at a lot to see where's his highlight. And some of the most important things that Dominic Yankov does when he's in the field is that he's completely unafraid of shooting the ball. He's unafraid. While we have other attackers or midfielders that are more willing to pass than to actually shoot the ball. And I felt like Dominic Yankov was the kind of player that was unafraid. So that's why that's why I think he's actually he's very talented. But it's the around that when Laurent Courtois' scheme is very much about building up a play. And I felt like Dominic Yankov struggles with building up a play. He can be, as Hadi you mentioned, he has incredible plays as well as some really, really crappy plays. So what's missing is consistency, and I think a little bit more clarity as to what his profile is in this scheme.
Okay, I see your point, but Elias, then if we take Andy's comments, what are we missing with Dominic Yankov? What's the secret ingredient that's gonna let him have that great season, or that that we're gonna be able to see that spark more often on the pitch? Because he has been a spark sometimes on the pitch.
And that's the thing. I don't think he needs motivation. I just think he needs some consistency in his life, right? Both in training and in games. I think he needs to just have like a couple months in a row where nothing bad happens. Because even if it wasn't a significant injury, he would always get setbacks, or he'd always pick up knocks that would maybe not have him start because he wasn't a starting pitcher, but wouldn't even have him on the bench. He'd be in the stands. And then he would have to spend some week in training doing solo work and then getting back, and then he'd get in, and then he'd be on the bench for like a week or two, and then come in as a sub, and then he'd get hurt again. So, and all that comes down to, and he spoke about this towards the beginning of the season. At when the news came out that he was coming to Montreal, he trained on his own. He was not involved in training. So people were thinking he was coming in mid-season form. No. In fact, he was just doing his own thing. So not only was he not in mid-season form, but he also didn't get a preseason. So that's why he came in injury prone. And on top of that, you're coming from a country where the furthest travel you'll have to do is like Montreal, Boston, right? That's peanuts in MLS. That's nothing. So that's why, and we'll talk about this also with Kokoro as well, because I think it's pertinent, but this is your one integration year, right? You understand what's required of an MLS player, both physically and mentally. Now, the next year, because I agree with you, Hadi, in terms of execution, when he gets the time and the space, he's excellent. The problem is he hasn't been able to get in those situations. And maybe you need to do a little Bryce Duke process where you force him to simplify his game, and then you can kind of put him in more complicated situations. I don't know what you have to do. But the first thing you have to do is give him some consistency. And that starts with an offseason and not getting hurt and understanding what it takes to be a player in this league.
Interesting. I agree. I don't know. I want to see more. I want to see more from Dominik Yankov, and hopefully we'll see more next year. Of course, there's no way for us to get rid of him, and I think he's under contract for 2 more years. So hopefully we'll see more of him. We'll see him get a bit more playing time too. I think he didn't get enough playing time, in my opinion. So let's wait and see. Moving on. Next player. Bryce Duke. End of season turnaround. So let's ask. No need to ask our friend Wellington. He's going to give him an F. So yeah, that's not a problem at all. So Bryce Duke, guys, how have we seen the best version of Bryce Duke? Or do you feel that he can still progress and evolve as a player? I'll start with the grades first, and then the question will be directed to you, Andy. So, Wellington gives a C for Bryce Duke. So, Andy, you're great.
For 2024, I'm going to give him a B-.
Yeah, that was my grade too, by the way. Elias?
I'm going to give him a C+.
Yeah. Okay. So we're all on the same wavelength. Andy, do you feel that we can get an improved Bryce Duke at one point?
No. I think we've seen the best of him.
Oh, wow. Care to develop?
What else is he going to add to his game? We've seen him that he passes. He has a magical one touch. He can play midfield decently, I guess. Back up. And yeah, he scores goals if he gets a lucky bounce. What else does he have in his game?
Interesting. Elias?
No, Andy's right. It's just about consistency now. Because just because he doesn't have anything else to add doesn't mean that it's bad. There's a lot of quality there. It's just about putting it up consistently now. I gave him a C. I gave him a C+ because for a third of the season he was a B+. The rest of the season he was a D. So you find some place in the middle, and there you go.
Yeah.
But this is the best we've seen of Bryce Duke. This is probably the best we'll see of Bryce Duke. But he knows that he has the blueprint now. This is what is needed of him. We don't ask him to do any more, not less, just that.
Okay. I'll ask my question differently. So if he does exactly what he did at the end of the season, is it an A kind of performance?
From beginning to end?
It's an A. If he does this for 30 games, it's an A.
Yeah.
A+.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Okay. So he is able to improve because what he needs to improve on is his consistency.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, good. So he is able to improve because consistency is something that you get and that you.
Hattie, I just don't think that Bryce Duke plays well with pressure on him to perform. Caden Clark took all that pressure off of him, and we saw the best of Bryce Duke. That's the way I see it.
So Wellington say watching Bryce Duke is like watching Netflix every season, new episode, no improvement. I don't get the metaphor, but you know what? Yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
Keep canceling shows that are good before they get good. No, sorry, I'm not going to get to that.
Did you cancel Bryce Duke? All right.
Moving on. Next player.
To Netflix now. Yes. Next player.
Caden Clark. Guys, let's start with the grade. You know what? I'll start with mine. Of course, grade was CF Montreal, A- for me. As simple as that for Caden Clark. With CF Montreal. I'm not talking about the other teams. Likes.
A.
Andy?
B+.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'll start with you, Andy, because B+. What were you expecting? Like, were you expecting more to get a higher grade? What did he miss? What did he?
So, statistically speaking, he did really, really well scoring goals and assisting, which is important for wins. But the rest of the game, if you watch him, there is not much from him. And that's why I give him a B, because you would want him to be more impactful as the front three. Laurent Courtois always talks about his front three and how important his front three are. It's true. When they're working, those front three can be lethal, but it only happens in spurts. And the rest of the time, I don't see much from him. So to answer that question that was asked earlier, is there pressure on him next year? 100% there is.
Nah, I don't agree with you because I think we don't see much from him offensively, but the work rate that he has and his defensive awareness has been very, very good for CF Montreal since he came in. And we tend to forget that because we saw him quite a few times coming and covering, a late wing back or coming and covering a midfielder that wasn't able to tackle the ball or to win the ball. And we saw that a lot from Caden Clark. Down the wing, on the left, so many times he covered for Raheem Edwards. And that's something that we tend to forget. And yes, of course, he had some games where he wasn't that good, and I agree with you, Andy. But I don't see what we can ask more of him. What I want to see next year is the same thing that I've seen in the last 6-7 games throughout the whole year, and he would be my A+ guy, and he would be my player of the year. As simple as that. Elias, what do you feel? Do you have anything to add?
No, I again, I love what I've seen from Caden Clark in terms of the willingness and the looking for, and this is all done with little to no buildup, right? He kind of just hopped in and did it like that. So I think that once they get an offseason together and he situates himself and they grow together, I have no doubt that this is going to be an A+ season. Again, at this level, it's an A+ season.
Good. Moving on. Next.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe next. Yeah. Nathan Saliba. First of all, the grade. I will give mine. I would give B for Nathan Saliba. Andy.
B+.
Elias.
Yeah. B+ is yeah.
Okay. Let's start Andy. Saliba. Very weird beginning of the season, injury, and so on. What do you feel is the next step for Nathan Saliba? What does he need to add to his game to become the Mathieu Chouanière 2.0 or more, or better even?
No, Nathan Saliba has made it very clear that his goal is to go to Europe. Okay, yeah. And if that's really what he wants, he doesn't need to be a Mathieu Chouanière 2.0. He needs to be a Georgi Mihailovic at 2.0. What that means is that I think it was they interviewed Kate Kamara back in 2022 when there were the rumors of Georgi Mihailovic being sold, where Kate Kamara said about Georgi, he said, when you watch Georgi in practice and you watch him in games, you can tell that he just understands it. He understands the game. He is at another level that everybody else in the field is at. And that's what Nathan Saliba needs to do. He can't play good enough for MLS anymore. He needs to play next level MLS. See, he can't. He's got to be like, I'm just way above this range right now of this league. That's what we need to see Nathan Saliba to make his, the European scouts convinced that he is worthy of a jump to the European leagues. That's what I think. That's what he's missing. But yeah, if we see regression next year, it's going to be a big disappointment, I think.
Elias?
No, I agree. And we talked about this a bit around not the midway point of the season, but I think it was after the Chicago game. It was after the Chicago game at Stade Saputo, where I didn't love his performance because he didn't take over the game like he could have and like he should have. Right? Where Chicago basically capitulated the midfield and they said, we're going to worry about the flanks and our own box, but if you want to play in the midfield, it's fine. And Natal Silva said, okay. It's like, no, you take that advantage and you shove it in their face. And that's something that, maybe with age, because he is still 20 years old, maybe with age, you kind of sharpen that killer instinct. But that's what I want to see next year is his ability will evolve naturally. That I'm not concerned about. It's the mentality now, this ability to take over games when you sense it's the moment. Because there were other games, especially in that run at the end of the season, where him and Piet were like, "You guys, the front three are cooking. We're just going to make sure that nothing else bad happens, and you guys, and we're here to support you." But there are other games where he has to take it by the scruff of the neck, because you have Piet doing the work for you. You have the people around you doing the work for you. You now control the game. That's the next step for him, and that's what I want to see next year. And if I don't see that, then I'm allowed to go, this is a B- here.
Moving on, I think you said it all, Elias. I have nothing more to add. I think we've seen a better Nathan Saliba this year than the year before, even if the season didn't start very well. Yeah, we need
the season's
consistency.
He didn't get an A, right?
Yeah, we need consistency in those in the play. Maybe seize the moment, as you said, because sometimes he doesn't, and yeah, bring that to the team. And I feel he's getting better at it, but I think that he has that bit more of potential that he can go and exploit at one point. So hopefully we'll see that from him in 2025. Moving on, Jules-Anthony Vilissant. It's been a tough year for Jules-Anthony Vilissant. And Andy, what's your grade for Jules-Anthony Vilissant? Like, it's tough. Honestly, I give him C-. I'm tough.
Yeah, I mean, C- is so nice.
Really?
Yes.
No, he did some.
Okay, I'll give him a C because he got 2 goals and 2 assists throughout the season.
But stop. Okay. Your opinion. Elias.
Don't judge me, Hadi.
I'm not judging you.
No, I'm giving him a C- as well. It says it right there in the thing, right? Availability is your best ability. And if you can be relied on to show up every single day, then I can't build a system around you. And I can't include you in the system. I can kind of just hope you're fit to sub you on when I can.
Yeah, I don't think availability is the only thing. I think that sometimes, yeah, of course, it's important, but I feel that sometimes Vilissant tends to disappear within a game. He has so much talent. That's undeniable. He has a lot of talent. And that's for me why I would give him a C-, because I feel that he can give us a lot more. The thing is, sometimes he gets completely lost. And I feel that he needs to read the game a bit more, understand the game a bit more. Maybe he's understand what he needs to do, because it's nice to have the coach's guidance, and the coach's instructions. But at one point, you need to understand the game too, and you need to tweak something sometimes by yourself. And I think that he's not doing that, and we've seen it so many times. Him with the ball and not making the right decision, not taking the shot when he needed to, not giving the pass when he needed to. And I feel he has potential. He just needs, I think he needs minutes, and he'll understand that a bit more. He's still young. So let's wait and see. I'm happy that he's still here. So to see him a bit more next year, hopefully we'll be able to have a bit more. He's going to be able to have a bit more playing time next year.
Hopefully, because like you said, right? Injuries.
Yeah. Next.
Moving on.
Sunusi Ibrahim. Andy, you're great.
I'm gonna give him a C+. C+.
Okay. Nice.
I'm gonna give him a B.
Okay. I will give him B-. It's to be different. Andy, surprised. C+.
Well, look, I've always said it. Sunusi was very important for CF Montreal when all the injuries took on, and there was a very low morale in the team overall. I mean, the team was down with all the with everything going on around the franchise. And I just felt like he, I just felt like he really stepped up and started scoring goals and won us a few games when we needed it. Even gave us some draws with his goal scoring. But as the season went on, it just feels like he, kind of disappeared, and eventually was not even selected in the bench. And it could have been multiple factors, and also the position and the rise of the revival of Joseph Martinez also probably didn't help his cause. But yeah, it's just it seems like it is. Yeah, I would say it disappeared. Hopefully next year. Anyways, we'll get to that. But yeah, that's what I think. Just my grade is solely based on that he was there when we needed it, but then after that he disappeared. So that's that.
But do you feel that he disappeared because it's his fault? Because I think he just
No, like I
he
said, it was the
wasn't
revival,
utilized
the
anymore.
the revival of Joseph Martinez, and
But
well,
even before, he wasn't utilized anymore.
when the injuries are there, he was utilized. He
Yeah,
played.
but then
He played. Started 10 out of 26 games. I mean, he was used a little bit, but yeah.
I didn't think he got a chance afterwards.
No.
I have a hard time blaming him, myself personally. What do you feel, Elias?
I agree with you. I think that, at the end of the day, and again, until Joseph Martinez scored, back to back to back to back to back races and scored 45 goals in 15
Of
minutes,
course.
right? He was a leading scorer. He was your leading scorer. He had 6 goals in like 10 starts, something like that. And even as a sub, he has some use because we saw it last year and the year before. Off the bench, he brings the good energy, right? He brings the energy. He brings a really good physicality, and he has this knack of reading the play super well. And that's something you need. You need that burst of pace. And also for someone who's like 5'7", he has as many headed goals as 04, right? Like, it's something you need at the end of the game. So I do think that he was given, unfortunately, not enough minutes at the end of the season. But again, he's 21, right? He's 21, turning 22. He has time and he has a lot of potential. Let him grow. Play the youth.
Yeah, yeah. I think he has time, but I feel that he did play like 26 games this year, so he did play well in my opinion. Um, I feel he should have played a bit more, and a few times we said it here on the Ball is Round, saying, "How come he's left out? He's wasn't even on the bench sometimes," and which we felt that was very very weird. But I think
It
he
looks like
improved a
it.
lot. I think he improved a lot this year compared to last year. I feel they improved a lot. He's able to play with his back to the goal. He's able to control. He doesn't lose the ball as much as he did before. His first touch has gotten better. His finishing has gotten better, which wasn't the case before. We used to miss sitters. No, I think he's gotten better, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do next year because I think he's very, very interesting. So we'll see. We'll see. Moving on. Next
Just to
player.
finish, sorry, Heidi. Just
Yeah,
to
go
finish
ahead.
that, Laurent Courtois had mentioned that Sunusi Ibrahim seemed to be having issues with practice habits. That he was like being too rough with his teammates. So that might have had to do with his disappearance later in the season. Anyways, that's all I wanted to add on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Moving on. Next player. Opoku. Under you spark plug or just a super sub? Your grade first, Elias. What's your grade on Mahala Opoku?
A C. A C.
Andy?
I'll say for him a C.
Okay. I would give him a D. And I'll explain myself. The reason why I would give a D for Mahala Opoku was because of what I saw last year. For me, this year was going to be the year of Mahala Opoku. I wanted him to come, not leave the line. And I've said it a few times here on the Ball is Round. For me, the top 3 should have been Opoku, Kokaro, and Martinez. That's the top 3 that I would have liked to see. But yes, he got injured. but also when he came back from injury, he wasn't the same. He wasn't interesting anymore. He didn't know what to do. He was lost on the pitch. And you know what? It's very, very weird. I don't know what happened. I feel that he doesn't have the confidence he needs in order to improve and to perform. So hopefully we'll see better from him next year.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Elias.
I love Mahala.
Yeah, same.
And
same.
I think, because the thing is, at the end of the season, I think he did some really good stuff coming in for Bryce Duke on that right side of the attack. And I think that having that change in profile is super important, because it does throw a curveball at the opposition. You have someone who's a lot more methodical, like Bryce Duke, and then you have Mahala, who is, again, probably the best, along with you saying, the best one-on-one dribbler on the team in terms of taking people on. So I hope he takes this offseason and he can stay fit, because there's definitely a place for him. And he's obviously a fan favorite because everyone loves him. But it's about fitness now. It's just about staying fit and being there, because he definitely has the performances for it. They're just not enough.
Yeah. Perfect. Moving on. Next player, Matthias Kokaro. The question is going to be yours, Andy, but first of all, what's your grade?
Matthias Kokaro. I'll give him a C.
Elias?
Give him a C minus.
Same. C minus for me. Andy, Matthias Kokaro. So do you, worst case scenario, but I will change a bit the question. Do you feel that it's impossible, because that's what I feel. Do you feel it's impossible for him to get a worse season than this year? Or do you feel that it can be even worse next year? There's a possibility. I don't think there's a possibility we see worse from him, because he has talent.
I mean, no, there's no worse from Matthias Kokaro that we can see. I think this is as bad as it gets. But I think if you want to ask what could be worse, it could be worse that we see a continuation of that next year, that there's no progression, we see a regression. That's the worst we could see of it. Because 100% I agree with you, he is very talented.
But, what has been, the Achilles heel for Matthias Kokaro has been his discipline, has been the fact that he's late at training, that has been the fact that he fights with teammates and stuff like that. Do you feel there's a way around it? Do you feel there's something that we can do in order to tame him in a way, or show him the ropes? Because he's not a young buck. He's not like 20, and that's not something that's, easily fixed. He's a veteran. He's someone that's like 26, I think 27. So, do you feel there's something we can do to tame him and let him be a team player in order to get the most of him next year?
I mean, unfortunately, I think in the soccer world, the worst thing you can do to a soccer player, to any soccer player, is not let them play a game. And as long as, the message is consistent, you're not at this level in practice, you're not on time, you're not the tiny things in practice you're not able to do, you're not able to maintain a professional, environment, a professional behavior, then you take away what a player needs most, and that's games. So unfortunately, hopefully he understands what the message is, because some players don't understand why they're not being played in games. Cough, cough. Wanyama. So it's very important that they understand why they're being taken to the side, right? They're not being played. So, yeah.
So, as usual, Wellington is very, very upset with our comments. He doesn't feel that Kokaro is talented. Elias,
Okay.
What's your answer to someone like, because he's not the only one, right? That says that for him, Kokaro is not at all talented. He doesn't agree at all with that assessment. So what's your answer?
I see in the same way people say, like, Yanni Antetokounmpo in basketball isn't talented. So it's because they don't, technically they're not at the same level. Maybe not, but he has a talent in terms of his fitness, in terms of his energy, in terms of getting in the right spot. Again, he is a fox in the box, right? That's his talent.
He's a poacher.
Doesn't mean he's not talented. It just means that based on what we saw from Martinez and how he was so successful, I don't think Kokoro can do that. But if you put the Martinez we had at the end of the season in the team that was actually doing really well at the beginning of the season, he's not doing that. Right? All the stuff that Kokoro was doing when they had those games on the road and the work he was putting in, the uncomfortable positions he was putting defenders in, drawing red cards, drawing penalties, drawing free kicks, and scoring, I don't think Martinez does that either. So it depends on what you think talented is. Technically, no, he's on the same level as Martinez. But to be fair, I don't think any attacker is on the level of Martinez because he is an MLS legend, right? He is one of the greatest goal scorers in the history of the league. So it's unfair to compare him to Martinez in that respect. But there is something that has to be said for what he can bring to Laurent Courtois. The only problem is if Laurent Courtois sees how successful they were at the end of the season, playing that style of play, Matias Kokoro is a sub in that. He's a super sub. He doesn't start. He doesn't play 60 minutes in that system. He comes on for the last half hour when Martinez has run his fill, and he now exploits the tire legs of the defense. That's what he does. But if you're looking at this version of an Laurent Courtois system, or the Kokoro that we know is not a starter.
Andy, I'll let you add your take on Kokoro. I think I forgot you for Opoku too, so feel free to add what you had to add for Opoku.
Yeah, for Mahala, I just wanted to say, like, I just think in the scheme of Laurent Courtois, he's not being played in his best position because, as Elias said, I think Mahala is a much more one-on-one player than being stuck between the lines and having to deal with several defenders in front of him. I think he loses the ball too quickly. But wow, with the ball, he is very, very good at navigating the field, but mostly one-on-one. I just don't. That's why I don't think we saw too much of him, and we didn't get to see too much. Too much of him, and also at the same time, we didn't get to see the best version of him this season. Hopefully, next season, he either learns his role better or he's able to be played in the position he's more comfortable with.
Okay, and Kokoro.
Kokoro, like I already said it. I do think he's very talented. Yeah, I already gave
you gave your take. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And you know what? I agree with what Elias said. I feel we haven't seen the best of Matias Kokoro. I feel that could be a very good partner to Joseph Martinez if played together. So now, at first I wanted to have Opoku with Kokoro and Martinez. Now it's more Clark with Kokoro and Martinez, but at the same time, we would need someone else. We need Saliba, of course, to bring his A game and to play that link between the midfield and the attackers. But that's a headache for Laurent Courtois. Moving on, next player.
Last but not least,
cherry on the top,
Joseph Martinez. Great. Let's start with you, Elias.
I'm going to give him a B.
Ooh, okay. Andy?
B plus.
Yeah, I was going to say B plus too, so that's great. Andy, is CF Montreal a playoff team without Joseph Martinez?
No.
Okay.
I mean, Joseph Martinez.
So next year he has to be back.
Yeah, he has to be back next year. Or if he's not, we need to bring a player that is better than him, just as simple as that, to replace him. That's it.
Okay. Anything to add?
I mean, the last month that we saw of the Joseph Martinez was the Joseph Martinez that we wanted to see at the beginning of the year, and he is a game changer. How often can you sign a game changer? So not a DP contract. Yes, you pay him expensive, but a game changer. He literally can lift the team to a different level just by being on the field. So, yeah, he has to be back. I 100% think he has to be back.
So, Elias, if he's not back, you need to have that game changer. You need to get this sort of game changer next year. Or do you feel that there's a way to not have, to have, let's say, Kokaro as your number one striker, not have Joseph Martinez, or have Sunusi, or have Vilsa, or have Opoku, or have, I don't know, someone else that's up front without Joseph
If
Martinez.
Matthias Kokoro is your starting striker, the supporting cast need to do so much more, right? King Clark, Mahala, Duke, he's saying, soon as everyone needs to double their efforts, right? And it's not a knock on Kokoro. It's more a testament to how much better Joseph Martinez makes the players around him when he's on.
Yeah.
Right? And Matthias Kokoro, in terms of enabling his team and energizing his team and getting his team in the right spot, does that as well. But when it comes to purely on the ball, Joseph Martinez elevates everyone around him, and you saw it, right? The fullbacks getting involved, the midfielders getting involved, the attacking mids, everyone getting involved, elevated their game, right? And it's because when he's on, very few in the league do it like him. So if he's gone, you now have, if we're assuming Wanyama and Lassie are leaving, that's about five. That's about
no way
five.
Wanyama's coming back.
That's about $5 million in salary, right? We're not talking about transfer budget, not talking about GAM, in salary that has left.
Yeah.
My eyes, you need another striker, and you need another experienced central midfielder, someone a lot more versatile.
And a defender.
Yeah, but defenders. I'm not talking about spending $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 on a defender. I'm
and a
talking
wing
about
back,
like $300,000, $400,000. There's 4 wing backs.
Yeah, but like,
Harry, what else do you want,
Raheem.
man?
So you're assuming that Raheem is coming back, right?
I'm operating the assumption that Raheem Edwards is coming back. Whether it's whether him or Tom Pierce start, that remains. That's not a now question. That's a later question. But I think all 4 fullbacks are coming back because all 4 fullbacks have made a good case as to why they should come back. Varying degrees of success, but that's not that.
Interesting.
Attacking, I think the 2 things have to do, and if Martinez come back, that gives you $5 million to play with. I do think Martinez is coming back though, which means I'll have 3 and change if Wanyama and Lassie leave to kind of make that work, which is more than enough. I think those 2 spots are the most important on this team right now.
Interesting. I want to just answer Patrick that says it was really the last 7 games. I don't agree with that. In the last 7 games, he did a lot, but he wasn't not doing anything before. If you look at the first 8 games of the season, he has 2 goals, 3 assists when he was a substitute. He wasn't even yet a starter because he was not very fit. So 2 games, 3 assists in the beginning of the season. And then he was injured. And then when he came back, it took him a bit of time to find his feet. So he only scored 3 goals in about 10 game-ish, 12 games. Yeah, 12 games, which was, I think, the downside of his season, but him coming back from an injury. And then, getting back to Joseph Martinez that we know at the end of the year. So I feel that it's just his injury that really slowed him down. But the rest of the time, he's been pretty good, I feel. So, yeah, I agree. So hopefully he's going to come back. Hopefully he is going to be here for a couple of seasons. Patrick is saying sign him to a DP contract 2 years and a DP offensive midfielder, and we're good. I don't think this is what. Yeah, no, yeah, I don't think he's going to be a DP. But maybe 1 point. Yeah, maybe a lower end DP at like 2 million, let's say, or $1,800,000. I wouldn't say no, honestly. So we'll see. Andy, Joseph Martinez.
Yeah, just he's a whole different level, man. Like that guy, I've said in the podcast before. His level of IQ of the sport is something that is hard to teach. I think it only comes with experience and bravery, and I think it's something that he showed. his IQ to the extent that we saw him get furious with Mahalo Poku when he just didn't follow the game, didn't understand the flow that was going on. So I just think he's like a conductor of a band in the front, right? He's the one that can pull all the strings to make it work. 100%, man. Pay that man the money he wants, and have him come back.
Good. That's it for our post-mortem. I think we answered. We talked about every player on a CF Montreal roster this year. Of course, we didn't talk about the players that are gone, so we're not.
Let's talk about
that. Nah, we won't. We don't have time. We do have
one Lassiter. Thank you. Okay, done.
Did we talk? Did we answer all the questions, Elias, that were asked to us before the show?
We did. Oh, we had one more question about the playoff format from Robbie. Do you think Miami losing is good, bad, or indifferent for MLS? And should the playoff format be just a one-game match at each level and have the final before November international break happens?
Who wants to answer first? I'll let you answer, Andy.
I'll go first. Me as a fan, I'm indifferent to them losing, but I think, in my opinion, if I'm seeing it from a business perspective, I think it's a huge loss for the league because Miami is the sexy team of the league with the sexy names, and by losing that, what is the people like? I'll give you guys an example, okay? Last night when we were watching the game, I was watching the game with my cousin who never watches soccer, never cares about soccer. But the moment she heard that Messi was playing in that game, she was like, oh, where's he? And literally was only watching him. Would literally watch the game just for him. So she doesn't care that Busquets is there, Jordi Alba, or any other player like we know. But those are like viewers that you're losing out on now because Messi is no longer playing in the playoffs. So I think it's a business-wise, it's a big loss for the MLS that Miami lost.
I don't think so. I don't agree. And I'm going to tell you why. Because at the end of the day, the business is what? You get Messi in order to get eyes on the league and to get fans get hooked to the league, right? Your cousin is not the kind of person that the league is trying to attract because it's going to be I'm your cousin,
I'm whoever,
the type of person that Messi attracts that are here just to see Messi and then don't care about soccer anymore. That's not what the MLS is trying to attract. What they're trying to attract is the people that love soccer, don't care about MLS, are watching MLS. I'm like, you know what? It's kind of a good league. Let's continue watching. And that's exactly what they want. So I think, I still think that it's a good thing that Messi lost and Inter Miami lost. And that's my opinion because if they had won, they're like, MLS sucks. It's normal. Messi's going to win it all, right?
Gotcha, yeah.
And now they're like, Messi lost with Alba, with Busquets. Was okay. Who was that good? Who's that team, Atlanta? What? Miranchuk? What?
Brad
Dax
Guzan?
McCarthy? Brad Guzan? And they become most of the time interested because that team of nobodies in their mind beat the team that was touted to be the winner of the MLS Cup. So no, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's at the end of the day, you want to see this kind of drama in order for people to get hooked on the product. And Inter Miami and Lionel Messi are just attractions to get people to get eyes on the league. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and a second question from Robbie.
Shout out to my cousin.
We had answered it when you had your little technical difficulty.
Okay, sorry.
Is Atlanta the next destination for Joseph from Dr. Foot? And which team is your favorite in the East now?
Oh, so we answered the team in the
East
that we answered. Yeah. But Martinez back in Atlanta? I don't think so.
Unlikely.
I think that boat has sailed.
They've scored too many goals against them this year.
Both of them have moved on from each other.
Yeah.
Exactly. We do have one more comment. It wasn't a question, but it was a comment from Marc Rochon that is asking us to open an account on Blue Sky. Honestly, we're thinking about it. We have jobs, so taking care of another social media is a bit tough. So we'll see. We'll see if it's gonna happen. We're not saying no, but we'll see if it's a possibility in the future.
We appreciate it though.
And thanks for
Yes.
letting us know. Let us know in the comments if you're Blue Sky people, and if there's a lot of people that are on there and are leaving X. We will take a look to see if it's a possibility for us. Moving on, Canadian men's national team. So very, very important games coming up against Suriname, quarterfinals of the CONCACAF Nations League. Let's look at the quarterfinals and the table of the quarterfinals. Let's look at those 4 games. So first game, you have Costa Rica against Panama, Jamaica against the States, Andy's team, Suriname against Canada, and Honduras against Mexico. So first leg on the 14th and 15th of November, second leg 18th and 19th of November. Guys, very, very important. We said it quite a few times for Canada. It's important to start having silverware. This is the kind of performance. This is the kind of competition that we want to win. Let's focus on the squad called up by Jesse Marsh for that window, that game, that doubleheader against Suriname. Ali Ahmed, Theo Bair, Tajan Buchanan, Moïse Bombito, Mathieu Chouanière, Maxime Crépeau, Jonathan David, Alfonso Davies, Steven Eustachio, Junior Hoylett, that's back, Alistair Johnston, Jamie Knight-Lebel, Ishmael Kone, Kyle Larin, Richie Larea, Kamal Miller back in the team, Daniel Wasei, Jonathan Osorio, Jacob Schaffelberg, Nico Segur, Jonathan Sirois, Dane Sinclair, and Joel Waterman. Guys, Sirois back in the mix. No Sam Piet, no Teixeira Saliba, with Ishmael Kone be back. Kamal Miller back in the mix. We're starting to see, the players that are French players, the players that are important players for Jesse Marsh. Do we have, and again, a newbie with Knight-Lebel that's making his appearance.
Montreal.
Montreal, and no De Fougeral in this squad either. That has been part of the squad quite a few in the last few call-ups. And also, there was a training camp just before the official FIFA window with a lot of CF Montreal, 7 or 8 CF Montreal players being called up, with Jules Anthony Vilissant rejecting that call-up because it's not really a real call-up to the squad. It was just a pre-camp training. What do you feel about that squad, Lice?
I like it. I mean, look, when it's respectfully, when it's to beat Suriname, it's more than enough, right? It's beyond question whether or not that's enough to beat the squad. I like that he's maybe giving different people different looks. I'd love to understand respectfully why Junior Hoylett is back. Because, from an attack perspective, it seemed like things were good and seemed like the right people were getting the right looks. So is it just a goodbye thing? Is it a goodbye tour? Is it an injury thing? Is it all of the above? But besides that, I'm happy to see that CF Montreal still has some representation. Jonathan Sirois, I think, has done enough to at least earn consideration. I think he's done enough to get the starting spot yet. But again, this is progression, right? He took a couple steps back this year in terms of maybe in the hierarchy of the goaltending competition, but you slowly but surely earn your way back into that conversation. As for Joe Waterman, he got minutes as a sub last time, and that speaks a lot to his spot in the hierarchy. So I'm happy. I'm happy with this lineup, 100%.
Yeah, same here. Very. I know that he's experimented. Jesse Marsh has experimented a lot with the other squads, bringing in new people, maybe giving chances to new younger players or players that haven't been selected in a bit. And I just think at this point he chose to play his best hand for a game that they are highly expected to win. I mean, we've seen it in the past that games that Canada was supposed to win, they did not win. So hopefully this time they can really win a convincing game. So
yeah, Yeah, and I agree with what Robbie has been saying. We have to beat Suriname. If not, it would be quite a step backwards. And you know what? I completely agree with
Over
him.
two
First of
legs. Oh my
all,
god.
Well,
we
it's,
have to
it's the
beat
equivalent
them.
of the U.S. losing to I think it
Trinidad and
was
Tobago.
Trinidad,
Never,
and it was
never
Colo.
heard, never heard the name of that country before. The you
Okay,
what?
okay, moving on then.
The
I
you
guess.
what? The you what?
Moving on, I guess. That's a no, but it'd be colossal. It would be
Yeah.
colossal.
Oh
It's
yeah.
a, I think by when Roberto says it will be quite a step backwards. I don't know, guys. I wouldn't say it's a little step backwards. It's a big step back, and it's worrisome at that point.
Yeah,
It becomes very
yeah.
worrisome.
And I agree with Patrick. It should not even be close in theory, and I
Yep.
completely agree with that. And to come back to the squad, I'll give my take. I agree. I like what I've seen. The only thing I still question, the inclusion of Junior Hoylett. Not like I understand you need veterans and everything, but I don't know. I would have liked to see, someone else get the nod. Why not Corbeanu? It's been a while that we haven't seen him. I know Liam Miller is injured and out for the season, but is why not Corbeanu? He's been playing in championship. I don't know if he's played this year, but last year he was playing. Um, I don't know. I would have liked to see a bit more movement up front. We all know we are aware that the frontliners will be the same. I don't think it's going to change much with Schaffelberg and Laren and David. I don't think it's going to be anything different.
You know what did put a smile on my face is Tejan Buchanan.
Tejan is going to be a wingback, right? In my opinion.
They don't do wing backs anymore.
Yeah, true.
He gets to be a winger. He gets to be in his position.
That's great. That's great. Let's wait and see. I think it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what the Jesse March does. Are we going to see Ishmael Kone back next to Steven Eustáquio? Is going to be Mathieu Choignard getting the minutes again? I don't know. The exclusion of two players, Sampiet, Nathan Saliba. Sampiet, it's I think the third time now that he's left out. And Nathan Saliba. I think the reason why he was called up is because Ishmael Kone was injured. Now that he's back, is it back to normal stuff? And last but not least, the inclusion of Jonathan Sirois as his third goalkeeper, which wasn't the case before. What do you think, Andy, about those three call-ups here?
Well, I think it's the Jonathan Sirois the call up is telling. It's showing that he's showing enough to be included in the roster for the Canada men's national team. As far as Samuel Piet and Nathan Saliba not being part of this squad, as you said, Harry, I think that's a fair opinion that the scheme just doesn't fit Samuel Piet. But at the same time, the clock is ticking, in my opinion, for Samuel Piet. I don't think he's getting any younger. So I don't know.
29. He's not like 36.
National team with all the talent you have in his position, 29 is getting a little bit old, in my opinion.
Really? I don't know.
But anyway, so Nathan Saliba still has, I think, like I said, next season for him is he has to be above his colleagues. He can't, in order to be considered amongst the national team as even considered as a backup, because the ones in front of him are just another level too of talent. That's what I think.
Okay. Elias, anything else to add for the national team, or can we wrap it up?
No.
I have one question for you guys.
Yeah.
Real quick question. A quick take, okay?
Yeah.
What do we think of the rejection of Joel Anthony Vilsain to the call-up? I know you said it's just any other training camp, but at his age, Elias, don't you guys think it's important for him to accept that and get the influence of his Canadian national team?
Okay. Nope. For me, it's nothing. It's pre-camp. It's before the camp. It's Jesse March just calling people to say, "Hey, do you want to train?"
And we don't know the reason.
So we don't know the reason.
Talk about why.
I don't feel that's, but I know that, like, from what we heard in the press conference, Jesse March didn't take it very well. So that's what I read afterwards. So I don't think it's a big problem if Jules-Anthony Vilsan becomes that very important strikers. I feel he will be called up again, but I don't think it's a major news in my opinion. Elias?
It's
No, same.
It's a nothing burger. It's nothing until it's something.
Exactly. Good. Guys, thanks a lot for being here. That's it for our post-mortem. Next week, we'll talk, of course, about the Canadian men's national team in depth. Friends, as you know, this product and this podcast is always going to be free. But if you want to help us, give us a bit of encouragement, help us grow the show, feel free to join our Patreon page. You have it in our link on X for sure, and you can see it here on the liner there. Just join us, help us. Only $4 a month. It's not much. This is it for us tonight. See you next week for episode 204 of The Ball is Round.